What is the ugly truth about selling on Etsy? Is selling on Etsy even worth your time and energy? There are pluses and minuses to every e-commerce platform. Amazon, you've got to have capital ready to go, cash-intensive business. Shopify, you're going to have a traffic problem. Get ready to learn how to drive traffic. It's probably going to be a combination of organic and learning a lot about Facebook ads and Google ads. And then Etsy, what is the ugly side about Etsy? Well, you might struggle with getting traction on Etsy, and that's because of the lower perceived barrier to entry, which has led to an influx of mediocre shops. In today's video, I'm going to talk about some of the struggles with Etsy and how to overcome them. If you're new here, welcome back to my channel. My name's Dylan Jarrus. I'm an Etsy seller of 7 years. I also sell on Amazon and Shopify, but with Etsy, I've sold over $1.5 million in revenue on the platform, and that's over $1 million in profit. So let's get into 7 ugly truths about selling on Etsy and how we can overcome these. Number 1, saturation and low profit margin. Do not open a print-on-demand t-shirt shop and try to make millions of dollars with only t-shirts. The reason why? Saturation and low margin. There are too many YouTube videos out there leading people down this path of thinking they can have this $1 million t-shirt shop dream. Slightly unrealistic, okay? And I think most people realize it when they see those videos. Instead, I recommend looking past t-shirts and at least incorporating a dynamic product mix within print-on-demand if you're going that route. We really need to have different listings with different purposes, not a flat 30% gross margin, 20% gross margin. That's not gonna work. We really need to look at your shop with a blended margin lens. Just so you know, most of the print-on-demand sellers that I help who do over $100,000 per month, they do not focus on t-shirts and sweatshirts. Just a hint. Number 2, a big struggle with Etsy, balancing your average order value and your margin. We need to highly consider both when we're building out your product mix. Are you going to go for the volume play? Maybe something higher margin, lower average order value, like digital products or supplies. Or maybe you're gonna go for lower margin, higher average order value. That could be something like print on demand or physical items. Or are you gonna focus on high average order value and high margin? That's gonna be something like digital products or handmade items. Because when balancing average order value and margin, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. You need to be really realistic about the overall strategy limitations of a certain category if you are limiting yourself to a very specific product type. If you want to talk to myself and my team about this, we're happy to do that. Just fill out the contact form on our website. We're happy to discuss what's realistic for you and your specific goals. All right, the third ugly truth of Etsy, shutdowns and closures. Do not panic and just accept that this is often part of the process. With Etsy's new filters, they often do a lot of automatic shutdowns and temporary closures. And this is designed to really prevent a flood of spam accounts. So do not panic if your shop gets shut down for no reason at the very beginning. It usually happens to new shops, at least once at some point. Instead, all you need to do is just appeal it and be patient. Obviously, you need to read about all of Etsy's policies and everything before you create a shop to make sure you're not actually violating anything. There are 2 types of shutdowns, a shop closure and an account or user closure. With the first one, a shop closure, you just appeal it, they usually open it back up, or you just create a new account. The second one requires different user identification. So that means like an EIN, social security number, or taxpayer ID. These mistakes happen nowadays, but do not panic, you just ride the wave. The next ugly truth about Etsy is trademark and copyright infringements. You absolutely have to look up anything that you decide to sell that is borderline or in the gray area. Just Google USTPO. This holds all the trademark, copyright, infringement policies. Do not use the standard of, well, everyone else is selling X on Etsy, so that means I can sell it too. That actually doesn't mean anything. Other people do not set the standard. Typically, it's reported by the source, and you'll see waves of these reports coming through because oftentimes the source will just hire a team of VAs to do a full sweep of Etsy to clear up a lot of violating accounts. So just don't do it. It's not worth it. And really make sure to keep these terms out of your tags too. I've seen some people keep things like Taylor Swift out of their title, but they're putting it in other places within the listing, which does not mean that you're safe. It's just simply not a good idea to play in the gray area. All right, the next ugly truth about building a business on Etsy, which is not even ugly, it's real. Etsy is not a get-rich-quick scheme. No matter how many people try to tell you it is, any business though usually is not a get-rich-quick thing. It takes a process of building, so you have to be in it for the process, not only the outcome. So yes, I have actually had students who went from like $907 in 1 month to over $21,000 $10 the next month, but that is not typical for everyone. Etsy is typically the long game. You're building a business that's designed to be long-term and consistent, so be ready to put in that type of effort. So it's consistent effort for a long time. Now, the beauty of this for you, if you are someone who has solid work ethic, is that many of these Etsy shops joined Etsy with that get-rich-quick messaging top of mind. And it was sold to them through these, some of these YouTube videos that made it appear way easier than it actually is. They're not in it to win it. They're not ready to fight the battle. They're not actually competition. They're more like noise in the marketplace, but they're not an actual threat. The amount of actual competition on Etsy is actually still very small. The next ugly truth about Etsy is that there is a huge group of like B/C level players who just chase best sellers. That's their business model. These sellers are not innovating much of anything at all. They're just keeping an eye on Etsy search results and trying to catch things as new trends pop up. Now, this is the laziest way to make money on Etsy, and it's a very short runtime usually for each trend that they try to pick up on, because they're usually joining that trend way late to the game. By the time a trend is on Etsy, already 6 months too late. Not only that, but they're also joining this trend at the same time that hundreds of other Etsy sellers playing this exact same game. So usually, without true innovation, these chasers are always going to stay chasers, and they're never going to actually beat the market leader. So just be aware of these group of sellers because it is their main strategy. They never actually win, but it's annoying. If you need extra help and strategies to protect your shop against those bestseller chaser shops, let me know. I have some great tools in my back pocket that I personally use. And if you would like our free 16-step checklist to grow your Etsy shop, leave a comment below and just say checklist, and then we will give you the link to download that. The next ugly truth about Etsy is that most sellers don't have any clue on how to create and communicate value proposition, and most of them suck at marketing. And it's not that they are always going to suck, it's just that they don't know anything about marketing. So if you don't know what you're doing, the execution is going to be missing. Not saying the potential's not there, they could figure this out, but most sellers never do. For example, you will see like a random print-on-demand shop, maybe it says US as the location, it's just filled with bad designs. The designs were probably created from someone with no experience. See, selling on Etsy, it's not that difficult if you can lock in the marketing and a compelling value proposition. But you have to ask yourself when you're creating a shop, why would someone want this thing? Who would want this thing? And that's why instead of choosing the product first, we start with the customer first. Otherwise, you end up in this situation where you're wondering, here's my thing, who would want it? We want to reverse engineer that. You've got to have a strong value proposition. You have to know how to create that, how to communicate that, and then you've got to know marketing. What I love about Etsy is there are so many levers to pull here, and there's so many free ways to compete that don't require a lot of capital. And that means there's so many ways to have a competitive advantage. And these are things that most people are not willing to learn or willing to apply. While there are some downsides to Etsy, some ugly truths, there are about every platform. I think it's actually the perfect platform for winners to be on because there's so many levers to pull. So if you're looking to learn how to pull levers on Etsy, you want our eyes in your shop, myself and my team, we're happy to go into your shop, make you videos, point out exactly what to fix, help you with your product mix, your SEO, all of that. Just reach out to us. You can go through the link below in the description to contact us, and we'll be in touch with you about your shop. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video.
I've gone from about $1,500 to $2,000 in revenue a month to currently, before the month's finished, $4,200 in revenue. I only joined multi-six-figure Etsy Blueprint about 4 weeks ago now,